Say yes every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today, we are joined by the amazing Eric Skates. He is the EVP of Marketing at Success Mortgage Partners. Eric, thank you so much for joining us, and I cannot wait to hear all of your insights and wisdom. Okay, so what we do is we kind of do a past, present, future theme. So let's take us back. And I would love to hear, what was one of the best pieces of advice that you have ever received? And please give a shout out to who you received it from.
Okay. And first of all, just let me say thank you so much for having me on today. It is such a blessing to get a chance to sit with you and talk with you. I'm a huge fan of Miss Laura Brandao. So to have you reach out to be part of Wednesday Wisdom is such a value for me. So thank you. All right. So jumping into it, my one thing that I would say would be the advice that I took from past would be, and the guy, his name is Eddie Perez. I remember the moment it happened. He called me on a weekend. I had just woken up. I remember sitting up in my bed, being on my phone, and he was like, you know what? I need to just give you some honesty, as a leader, as a teammate, as a friend. I want you to be a success, and I need to give you some feedback. And, up until then, I was really trying to hit the ground running with, so many new projects and different things working in marketing at Equity Prime Mortgage. And in doing that, I was so laser focused on being the best marketing department that we could. And I wanted to do everything we could to make that organization amazing. But I kind of lost focus of what I was doing to get there. And so he mentioned to me, you know what? And I don't know how you can bleep out things, but I won't say anything too much. But, he was like, you're being a jerk to everybody. And, the amount of things that you're trying to get completed and done, you're really not being a team player. It's just like,
Wow.
This is the way you need to do this. And this is how it's got to be. And it was, at that moment, I used to take things so personal and everything. But at that singular moment, it was a ding. And I was like, I'm going to take all this information and I'm going to utilize it to make me different.
Wow.
And be better. And so just giving, I will never forget, it was like a condescending situation that, I was being condescending to a lot of people. And I did not want to have that as my reputation.
Wow.
And
well, Eric, there's so much there. There is so much there. Okay. One, shout out, of course, to Eddie, because you actually have to care about someone in order to give that type of feedback. Okay. Like if you don't care about someone, you wouldn't even bother trying to share that. Okay. So that's one. But then the other side of it, which is you, because how you took that in, how you allowed that to process, you had two options there. You could be like, what? Like, this is crazy. I'm not being that way. I'm just trying to execute and I'm just trying to get all these things done. I'm not going to accept this and I'm going to push this back. Or how you did accept it. You were open to accepting that feedback, knowing it was coming from a good place. And then you not only said, okay, maybe let me evaluate this, you then applied it. And that's going to lead me to question number 2. So now that you've received this advice, now that you now have looked and kind of reflected and said, you know what, maybe there's something to this that I need to step back and analyze this. How did you take that and apply that to your life?
So I took it and I just ran with it I've got to change my reputation. I need to make sure I'll never be a successful person in any organization if I don't come off as someone who, one, listens, two, understands, and three, wants to work with people. And so I had so many opportunities to have growth and development, professional development, and so many tools in the organization to use. And in that, I really dug in. And so I started reading all these books and listening to all these different speakers and YouTube, and then at the same time, Janine Driver, I would listen to her on body language and how I needed to change how I stood next to people while I was speaking with them, and how I actually would, be more enthralled with their conversation versus me trying to jump in to give my piece. And it really changed everything for me. And so there are times where you have to evaluate too of, how can I change myself in the environment I'm in? And some people are never going to change their attitude about you. And so you have to change how you are. And then eventually, possibly, they will see that you have become a different person. So I did my best to take in as much information as I could to become a better individual so I could be a better professional along with my coworkers. And then I also moved that into my family life too. Like I started listening more to my kids and being more present with my wife to, be available and listen to her. And I started taking something called ashwagandha, which really calmed down my stress level. And I think that was a game changer too, because I was so stressed out and everything bothered me. And so in doing that, I was able to, naturally change up how I was feeling every day. And so you really have to figure out what works best for you. That may not work for other people, but it did for me. And I was able to really harness who I wanted to be, because I've been to enough funerals to listen and hear how all these people talk about that person. I don't want my reputation to be one that he's a condescending jerk.
Right. Oh my goodness. Well, kudos to you for taking that information in and working on yourself. Because listen, that's the hardest thing for us to do, right? Because in our brains, we're kind of like, oh, what? Maybe it's them. It's not me, right? It's got to be something with that person, not something. And sometimes it is. To your point, Eric, there's going to be people that we're not their cup of tea, right? Whoever we are, right?
You can't please everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's not a problem, right? But as humans, I think there's always room for improvement. And being a better listener, I think I don't care how good of a listener we are, I think there's always room for improvement on things like that. To your point, whether it's in business or whether it is our partners or our children or anyone else, right? So I love that you took that moment, you applied it, you worked on yourself, and not only was it positive in your professional life, but you grew also as a husband and a father and a friend and everything else. So that is wonderful. Okay. Now, Eric, so much we have learned, and thank you for sharing. But this is my favorite part, where we would love to hear what's in Eric Skate's wisdom that you would like to share, something that you recommend to everyone out there listening today.
Ask for feedback on yourself. Ask the people who you value the most, and sometimes the ones that you don't value the most, because sometimes your friends they really won't tell you the truth. There's the people that you value who want to keep you safe, but the people who really can help you and give you constructive criticism are not necessarily your closest friends. So open yourself to the idea of growth, because if you don't find feedback on yourself on a regular basis, then you're not going to be able to grow as a person, as a professional, as an individual. And in that, you will see so many things that you can improve upon. I love how you say, today, I think it was today, your motivational Monday was, get 1% better every day. And if you can do that and accomplish that in some ways, then you're just going to continue to see a value in yourself and know your worth. That's my second thing, is know your worth as a person. Because if you know what you are as a value, then you are going to be more passionate in what you do and also provide value to everyone that's around you. So that feedback comes so important, because you can just continue to build and stack on your progress as a human, as an individual, and as a professional.
So Eric, let me ask you, because great advice, huge advice, love it, okay? But let's be honest, most people have difficulty taking that feedback, right? I think one of the reasons why people don't ask for it is because they're afraid of how to react to it, right? Like, meaning that they're kind of afraid they're going to get defensive, or that they're going to feel bad about themselves. So I'd love to hear a little bit of your advice on how do you truly take it to where you're not beating yourself up. You know, like if you hear, let's just use an example. Let's just hear someone says, you're not a good listener. Every time I'm having a conversation, you're trying to jump over me and you're trying to, you know, interrupt me. So maybe, like, what would be a piece of advice of how to not only ask for it, but how to accept it to where you are looking at it in a positive light? What would be your advice?
Well, one thing is, I think it comes with age. Honestly, you know, you get to a point in your life where you have to understand the world does not revolve around you. And, you know, if you are not hearing the things that you really want to hear or you're not getting the opportunities that you want, you have to realize you better be working on yourself to make yourself better. So my suggestion is, you know, one, look inside yourself to figure out what you feel maybe you need to work the most on. And then find some trusted individuals within your circle that, you know, like I said, they don't have to be close friends, but you could say, you know what, I really want to become more professional in what I do. I want to be a better whatever at home. And can you help me do that? And say, okay, I want to grow in this way mentally, you know. So they have to be able to accept that type of feedback. If they are just terrible accepting feedback, that's the first thing they need to work on, is taking criticism. You know, I used to be terrible at it, where somebody would tell me something, I'm shaking my head already, and I'm like, okay, I need to stop doing that. It's already a cue that they're not happy with what I'm not happy with what they're saying. So I have to convince myself, okay, let me hear through it first before I respond, because I catch my kids doing it all the time. But that's age. It just takes time for you to grow as a person with that. But finding those people that you can ask the feedback for, inside, you have to be prepared to take that feedback. I would write down a few things that you maybe want to work on yourself. You know, one, I want to be a better friend. I want to be a better coworker, a teammate. I want to be someone who picks me for the team. Right. You know, a resource. If you're going to be that type of person, then you need to be approachable. And are you approachable? You know, are you being invited to parties? Are you going to get the chance to get a promotion? You know, if you want a promotion, you have to be able to work with top team level executives. And in that, you have to hold your opinions in until it matters. Right. Because if you just jump and you get hurt real quick, you're not going to survive in that landscape. So in that, you know, maybe read some books that might be helpful, where you are trying to figure out who you want to be. You know, there's a lot of self-help books out there, but find a direction of how you can be a better person for what will help you in your future.
I think that advice is key, because you didn't say, hey, just tell me everything that I'm doing wrong, right? Like, you didn't, like, it wasn't that broad. It was more like, hey, it's 2024, one of my goals for this year is I really want to work on this, or I really am looking to, see what I can do in order to work on that promotion or this other job role, or being a part of a committee, or being on a board of something, or something like that. And I would love your feedback as to what I can do as an individual, as a team player, as this particular role in order to work on getting better at these things. I love that approach because it's not so broad where it's kind of like, just tell me everything, give me 20 things that I'm not good at.
You don't want to gunny sack them,
Don't do
because
that.
if that happens,
yeah,
all of a sudden you get then you're going to go depressed. You're going to be like, I'm a terrible person. But overall, if you can pick and choose, if you like, you want to be a better public speaker, you're fantastic at that. Maybe somebody would come to you and say, Laura, I really want to be a public speaker for this organization. Can you give me some feedback on what my approach is and how I can do better at it? And that way, that can lead them into being in different roles for different things. And not only that, they have to find ways to research these things that they have to, present on. It could lead into so many other options. So find the one thing that you want to work on, maybe 3 small things over the year, maybe once a quarter or something.
Yeah.
That way you're not completely sabotaging your mindset of, I'm a terrible person and I don't know how I got hired. That will go away. But in general, I would say, ask for that feedback, be open to change, and really know you can help others with what you've learned too.
We all can.
Just keep giving back to help others. If I had known years ago that one piece of advice would have helped me, I would have asked for it years ago.
Right.
But I don't know if I was ready for it.
That is very true, Eric. There is,
and so it just hit me.
Yeah, like you said about that maturity. You said that, you've kind of matured with age and now you're more open to receive that. So that is true. Maybe at that moment you wouldn't have taken it in the same way. So
because that reputation is everything.
This is unbelievable advice that every single person, I don't care where you are in your career, regardless of what your job role is, all of this is incredible insights and wisdom to be shared and applied. So thank you so much for sharing your personal journey from the past to how you're applying it. And of course, your wisdom for all of us to continue to grow and change and be the best human that we can be. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you.